3 in the morning, you're wide awake. Not because of caffeine, not because of a nightmare, but because your brain just remembered that your rent is due in 4 days and your account balance has 2 digits in it. If you've ever been there, and statistically more than half of you watching this have, then this video is going to hit differently than most personal finance content you've seen. Because today, I'm not going to talk about index funds or budgeting spreadsheets or cutting your avocado toast. I want to talk about a single number, $10,000, and the almost invisible ways it rewires your psychology, your decision-making, and honestly, your entire personality. I'm Dan, and I've spent years studying the intersection of money and human behavior. Stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to understand why this one milestone matters more than almost anything else in personal finance, and it has almost nothing to do with the money itself. Hit subscribe if you want more content like this, and drop a comment below telling me where your savings are at right now. No judgment. We're all somewhere on this journey. Let's start by being brutally honest about what life looks like without a financial cushion. Every single expense, no matter how small, carries emotional weight. You're not just buying groceries, you're doing live mental math in the checkout line. You're not just getting your oil changed, you're secretly praying the mechanic doesn't find anything else wrong. You're not just going to work, you're calculating exactly how many days until the next paycheck lands. This is called financial survival mode, and here's what makes it so dangerous. It's not just stressful, it's cognitively expensive. Researchers at Princeton University found that financial stress consumes so much mental bandwidth that it effectively reduces a person's functional IQ. People living paycheck to paycheck aren't making worse decisions because they're less capable. They're making worse decisions because their brain is constantly running a background program called "Please Don't Let Anything Break." That background program eats your focus, your creativity, your patience, and your ability to think long term. And the worst part, most people don't even realize it's happening. They just think they're tired or unmotivated, but they're not. They're depleted. So why $10,000 specifically? Here's the thing. It's not perfectly magical. $8,000 helps, $12,000 helps too, but $10,000 sits in a very specific sweet spot psychologically and practically. On the practical side, it covers the vast majority of financial emergencies the average person will ever face. We're talking car engine work, a surprise medical bill, a broken HVAC unit, 2 or 3 months of living expenses if you lose your job. Most of life's financial gut punches land somewhere under that $10,000 ceiling. That means when you cross this threshold, you've essentially built a wall between yourself and most of the chaos that derails people financially. You're not invincible, but you're protected from the hits that knock most people completely off course. But the practical stuff is almost secondary. The real transformation is what happens upstairs. The moment you see a 5-figure balance in your account for the first time, something neurologically significant happens. Your cortisol levels, the stress hormone your body floods you with when it perceives danger, start to drop. Not immediately, not all at once, but gradually your nervous system begins to recalibrate. It stops treating every minor inconvenience as a potential crisis. The check engine light comes on. Before $10,000, instant panic spiral. After $10,000, mild annoyance. You make a service appointment and go back to your coffee. That shift from panic to mild annoyance sounds trivial, but it changes everything downstream. Better sleep, cleaner thinking, more patience with your kids, your partner, your coworkers, less time mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios at 3 a.m. Financial stress is one of the most physically corrosive forms of chronic stress a human being can experience. Removing it doesn't just feel good, it literally improves your health outcomes over time. Here's what nobody talks about enough when it comes to savings. It's not really about security, it's about options. When you have zero savings, the word no disappears from your vocabulary in ways you don't even notice. Your employer offers you extra shifts you don't want. You say yes because you need the money. A vendor quotes you an unfair price. You accept it because you don't have time to shop around. A job offer comes in that's mediocre at best. You take it because you can't afford to keep looking. Every decision gets made from desperation rather than discernment, and decisions made from desperation almost never lead anywhere good. But when you have $10,000 sitting in savings, suddenly no becomes available again. You can walk away from a bad deal. You can take 2 extra weeks to find the right job instead of grabbing the first offer. You can tell a client who's treating you badly that you'll no longer be working together. You can say yes to a $1,500 certification course that could boost your income by $15,000 because you can actually cover that without destroying your financial foundation. Options are leverage, and $10,000 buys you more leverage than most people realize. There's a version of confidence that money creates that has nothing to do with arrogance or status. It's quieter than that. It's the confidence of someone who knows they're okay. Watch how someone with zero savings walks into a job interview. They need this job, and that need is visible in how they answer questions, in how they respond to pushback, in whether they negotiate the offer or just accept whatever they're handed. Now watch someone with $10,000 in the bank walk into the same interview. They want the job, but they don't need it. That subtle difference rewires the entire dynamic. They answer questions more honestly. They push back when something doesn't feel right. They negotiate because they can afford to hear no. This is not a theoretical observation. Study after study on negotiation behavior shows that people operating from financial security consistently walk away with better outcomes, better salaries, better terms, better deals than people operating from financial desperation. Your bank balance is secretly influencing every negotiation you've ever had, and most people have no idea. Let's talk about something that sounds soft but is actually the most important factor in all of this: identity. There are 2 kinds of people when it comes to saving money: people who are trying to save money and people who think of themselves as someone who saves money. That difference is enormous. If saving is something you're trying to do, it's a behavior. Behaviors are fragile. They require willpower and motivation and discipline, all of which are depleted resources that run out under pressure. But if saving is part of who you are, if it's woven into your identity, it becomes nearly automatic. You don't debate whether to save this month any more than you debate whether to brush your teeth. It's just what you do. The journey to $10,000 is where most people make that identity shift. The early days are hard. You're fighting old habits, old justifications, old ways of spending. But somewhere around the $3,000 or $4,000 mark, something clicks. You stop feeling like a person who is trying to save and start feeling like a person who saves. And once that shift happens, the rest of the journey becomes dramatically easier.
Let me give you a reality check that might reframe this whole thing. The average American household spends approximately $2,500 to $3,500 per year on what I'd call convenience spending. That's dining out beyond what's reasonable, subscriptions that don't get used, impulse buys, and premium versions of things where the generic would have been fine. If you redirected just 1/3 of that spending, we're talking $70 to $100 a month, you'd reach $10,000 in roughly 8 years. Redirect half of it, you're there in 5. Add a small side income or a single raise and redirect it properly, you could be there in under 3 years. I'm not asking you to live like a monk. I'm not asking you to eat rice and beans and never enjoy your life. I'm pointing out that the gap between where most people are and where they could be is measured in small, consistent choices, not in lottery wins or dramatic windfalls. Small and consistent beats large and sporadic every single time. That's not inspiration, that's math. Here's what I want you to really understand. $10,000 is not a destination, it's a launch pad. Because once you get there, your relationship with money changes permanently. You start thinking about what's next, not from anxiety, but from curiosity. You start asking questions like, what if I put some of this to work, instead of, how do I avoid financial disaster this month? The person who saves their first $10,000 almost always goes on to save their next $10,000 faster, and the next one faster than that. Not because their income magically grows, although it often does for reasons we talked about earlier, but because the mindset and habits that got them to $10,000 are now permanent fixtures of their personality. Wealth is not a destination most people arrive at by chance. It's the long-term result of becoming a certain kind of person, someone who understands money as a tool, who delays gratification, who makes decisions from strength instead of fear. And for most people, the journey to $10,000 is where they become that person. So here's where I'll leave you. If your bank account is currently looking a little thin, that's okay.
That's exactly why you're watching this. The point isn't where you are right now. The point is understanding what's on the other side of this milestone, so you have a real, tangible reason to move toward it. Not just financial security, not just a safety net, but better sleep, clearer thinking, more confidence, more options, better relationships, and a version of yourself that makes decisions from power instead of panic. That's what $10,000 actually buys you. And honestly, it's worth every sacrifice it takes to get there. If this gave you a new way to think about savings, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me what your biggest financial goal is this year. I read every single one. And I'll see you in the next one.